A poem is a magical boat to ride in a sea of words with a rhyming tide. It takes us from some humdrum shore to places we've never been before. Shimmering islands of sensation, captured by imagination. New lands wait for us to sight, so climb aboard, the wind is right. Rocking rhythms will take us along to the rising crest of a noteless song. Whether the weather be fine, or whether the weather be not. Whether the weather be cold, or whether the weather be hot. Well, whether the weather, whatever the weather, whether we like it or not. Fine, not cold, hot. Fine, not cold, hot. Fine, not cold, hot. Well, whether the weather, whatever the weather, whether we like it or not. Love you, Grandma. Star Command, Star Command, doing the best that we can. Look us over, you will see, we're the best in our galaxy. S-T-A-R, Star Command, doing right the best we can. Be respectful, be honest, be responsible. Star Command, doing the best that we can. Look us over, you will see, we're the best in our galaxy. S-T-A-R, Star Command, doing right the best we can.
Study about the continents, Europe and Asia and all of this. And so she had us pretend like we were going on a plane ride to the continents. And so she lined up the desk, or not the desk, but the chairs like an airplane, the 3 and the 2, all the way down. And she put lights, little lights for the edges. And we all sat on this pretend airplane. And she served peanuts and Sprite. And she had the screen up there, and the screen showed different places in Asia and Europe, and she explained, we'd pretend to land, and then she'd explain wherever we were visiting. She was excellent.
When I was in the first grade, I had a best friend that lived around the corner from me, and she always knocked on my front door to pick me up, and we'd walk to school together. And one day when she showed up, we both had on brand new, exactly same clothes. It was a little pleated wool skirt out of black, white, and red plaid. And we had a white shirt, and then it had little straps that went over the shoulder from the waistline. And so I just remember skipping all the way to school with my new twin.
I was very active, and I was like little Mary. I loved to play, and we played volleyball and jacks and everything. So it was in those days when I remember I talked so much I got spanked at school.
Oh, wow.
That made me not talk so much. And I grew up to be a good citizen, and it didn't hurt me, and I'm not in therapy or anything for it. I'm good. But I had very strict teachers, and we were expected to toe the line and be respectful and so forth. So I'm really grateful for my teachers. They taught me a lot, and they worked hard, and I had a good environment, good parents. So I have a lot of fond memories of them.
We used to bring our dolls to school, and at recess we could go out and play dolls in the house, which I know doesn't sound fun to you guys if you don't like dolls anymore. But it was to
Not
me.
true.
And one of my most memorable years also was in the 3rd grade, and I had a really loving teacher. She was really, really old, but you could really tell that she just really loved the kids. And one day, after I grew up and was older, I was working in a salon, and she came in to have her hair done. And you know what? she hadn't aged. She was young. But back then, I thought she seemed quite old. And another memory I had, we used to play jacks. And I'd go home and my mother even played jacks with us, and she was even better than what we were. And jump rope was one of our other favorite things. And one teacher in the 4th grade that I had, and teachers can't do this anymore, but if you were bad, he had a paddle, like an oar to a boat. And you had to lean over your desk and you'd get swatted on the back side.
Oh,
You were
shoot.
bad. Now, that didn't never happen to me, but it happened to a number of the boys.
This is not his grandma. I'm his cousin, but our grandma is far away, so I'm here. So, one of my favorite memories of elementary school was we would make little books, kind of like they made, but it was just like a piece of paper folded in half, and we'd staple and we'd write a title on the front, and there were a few pieces of paper inside, and we would get to write our story, and we got to pick our 2 favorite books, and we had an author's night. And we had our desks all situated, and we had our books like fanned out, and those were color copies because we would color all pictures and everything. And the parents could come and buy our books. And once our book was purchased, we got to sign it because we were the author, and it was like
cute.
25 cents or something. But I just remember feeling like so important because we had books and we got to sign them, and my mom would buy my books and my friends' books, and then I got to take them home and read them. And I loved it.
His mom, our grandma also couldn't make it because she was in Idaho, but I'm Reagan's mom. And I think some of my most favorite memories of school, because I love school very, very much. In fact, I'm a teacher, just don't teach right now, but I was a teacher because I love school so much. But my favorite part was probably story times and listening to the teacher. And I just loved getting caught up in the stories of like the old books, James and the Giant Peach and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe were some of my favorites. But I do remember loving Where the Sidewalk Ends and listening to the poetry. And I know you kids have been studying poetry this year. And that book, you could never get it from the school library, Where the Sidewalk Ends, because all the kids wanted it.
I'm Gabrielle's Nana, and it just happened that I was here for this, and because we're driving cross country from North Carolina, and just happened to be here, so I'm really happy to be here.
Ooh, that's cool.
What I remember most about school is actually recess. I loved the bar, the rings they called them, and they were way up high, and I had to use a little step to get up to them. But I would play on those every time. The other thing I loved was to write. And we got to write poems, and the most exciting thing was when my little poem was published in the little newspaper, and I just thought that was so great.
I'm Evan's Utah grandma, so I'm the local. And so we get to spend more time together than he gets to spend with his other grandma and his grandpa, and so that makes me extra lucky. The thing that I decided to share that I remember was when we were going to go into our next year, and everybody said to me, don't get Miss Merritt, whatever happens, don't get Miss Merritt. She has a wooden leg, and she's mean. And so when I saw that I had Miss Merritt, I was scared. But I want to tell you kids what happened with Miss Merritt. She was the best teacher I ever had. The reason the kids said she was mean was she wanted us to behave. I fell in love with English. She was my English teacher, and I still love and remember Miss Merritt.
My story is about when I worked in the library, and I'm probably of the vintage of a lot for everybody, the recess stories sound very familiar, let's put it that way. Except we played marbles, because I could do it, beat all the boys and have all the marbles. But I worked in the library, and so I was busy, I would put in a card, they had cards in the little envelopes, and you check them out, and stamp them, and it was very cool. But I made the mistake of going home and taking every book we had in our house and taking all of the leftover cards and envelopes and putting them in every book we had in our home. So even now, when we're going through like really, really old books. There's a card, and I would check them out to my neighbors, and we'd use fake names and, you know, whatever, and they'd take them for a day or two and bring them back. And I had this little lending library out of my bookshelf with all of our family things. So my parents always laughed that, you know, I should have been a librarian because I did it even when I couldn't do it. And we did get, I said to Dodge, I think I'll tell about spanking, but I don't think anybody wants to hear about spanking. But we did have large petticoats. And so when you got spanked, it wasn't quite so bad.
Hello, my name is Evelyn. I am Elliot's aunt. My mother couldn't be here. She's in St. George. But I'm originally from Brazil, and I grew up in Miami. And my elementary school was on an island. So it was called Treasure Island, and it was just surrounded by water. We'd have to cross a bridge every morning to get to school. And my favorite part about elementary was my third grade teacher, Miss Mia, and my PE teacher, Coach Whiteman. Coach Whiteman was this huge bodybuilder. So he had like really big legs, and he always wore white shirt and white shorts because he was Coach Whiteman. And with long blonde hair. And the funny thing is that Miss Mia and Coach Whiteman got married.
Oh, that's cool.
I am Emma's Mimi, and she likes this story, so she wanted me to share this. But when I was in elementary school, I loved my Levi's 501 jeans. I wanted to wear them every single day, and my mom had to put the hammer down. I could only wear them 3 times a week, which was a sacrifice. But and this was when you bought the jeans and they were really big and you had to wash them to shrink them. These are the olden days, children. But my 501 jeans had 5 pockets. There was like a little coin pocket and then 2 front pockets and 2 back pockets. And right around the corner from my house was a store. I don't know the name of the store. We called it the Little Store. And there were these big, long things of gum that were called Big Buddies. And they had all different flavors. And they were a nickel a piece. So you could go with a quarter and you would buy 5 Big Buddies. And they were pretty long, big pieces of gum. And the thing was, you couldn't chew gum in school, but I would get my 5 Big Buddies and put 1 in each pocket of my 501s, and then I would chew that much. But that was, Emma thought that was a great story. That gum.
Hi, I'm Grace, and I am Allie's honorary grandma. I love Allie. And she mentioned olden days, so I'm talking about olden days because we had to wear dresses every day to school. And one of my favorite things every year was a dance festival that we did. And it's interesting that we remember 3rd grade so well. The dance that we did was called the bebop at that time, and it was popular, and the song was Come Along and Be My Party Girl. And I would love to practice that dance every year. I look forward to that. And now that was a really good memory. I love the dance festivals and practice. And I remember when I was younger, in my 1st grade class, one of my classmates got sick and threw up. And the teacher said, "Does anyone want to be a nurse?" And, I just raised my hand so fast. And she gave me a pail and water and a cloth. Needless to say, I did not become a nurse.
We had to wear dresses too. I grew up in Los Angeles. I'm Luke's grandma. He calls me his cookie grandma. Or movie grandma. We tend to make a lot of cookies. So, but I just remember in the 6th grade we had a segment of class where we studied the government in Washington, D.C. And we made this huge mural, about twice the size of that green one. And it was very detailed. We painted all the monuments, the White House and the Washington Monument and all those things. And it was so good and so detailed that the newspaper even came and took a picture of a few of us standing in front of it, and it was in the newspaper. But I remember my teacher specifically saying, "I want you kids to know that someday 1 or 2 of you could be working back here and 1 of you could be working in the White House." Well, about 12 or 13 years later, I was working in the White House. not as the president, but for a president that you will just read about in your history books. But I remember when I came home after working in the White House for a while, I wanted to contact her and let her know that one of her kids did end up in the White House, but she had passed away by then. But I think that was a good message for you kids to know that you never know where your life is going to take you. And one of you could be doing something that you can't even imagine right now or be dreaming about. So that was a good lesson for me.
Still with a lot of books and writing and music and performing and art. But also in sports, we had one older teacher that I remember that we just, everybody wondered she was so old, but she was my favorite teacher. Every day we go out to her PE when it was a nice weather, and she'd bring out the baseball and the bat, and we'd have so much fun. I remember I loved baseball, and we're sliding into a base, but I had a dress on, so I wasn't that good at it. So I guess I'm lucky to wear pants to school now. But thank goodness for teachers. I don't know what we'd do without them. I love they devoted all of them. So, and thanks to Dawson's teacher.
Well, I'm not Nadia's grandma. I had the pleasure of coming and teaching this class one day. So hi kids, how are you? So one cool thing about one of Nadia's grandmas, she babysat the President of the United States. So speaking of the White House, she babysat the President of the United States when he was just a little baby. So George Bush, the second George Bush, Nadia's great grandmother babysat him. And she was in a nursing home, and the nurses came in and were being kind of loud, and she was 97 or 98 years old. She lived to be 103. And the nurses were being real loud, and she kind of got off the phone and she said, will you please keep it down? I'm talking to George Bush. And the nurses kind of rolled their eyes like, there you are. And my aunt was there, and she says, no, really, she's talking to George Bush. George Sr. called Nadia's grandmother about once a week until the day that she died. And they were very, very close. Nadia, when she was just a baby, we took her to Washington, D.C. So she's seen all the sights in D.C. as a baby that she wouldn't recognize. And if you wanted to know what I was like in 3rd grade, I was just like Nadia.
That have their books to bring back to the library. That's a lot. Please look for these books and bring them back as soon as possible. We're counting on you to round them up. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you some updates along the way, and we're going to get that 90, still have the book out, 98 students, bring it back, and we're hoping to get that to 0.
Sounds like they need a librarian. So my favorite teacher was named Rodney Reagan. He had a tattoo on his arm. And he always wore 2 shirts, so we couldn't see, we could see that it was kind of there. Our whole goal for the entire school year was to try and see that tattoo. And he had 2 sayings that he'd always say. He would say, this is apropos for grandmas. He said, Grandma's slow, but she's old. That was his way of telling us to hurry up. Grandma's slow, but she's old. And then he would say, if we would say something bad, he'd say, that's rude, crude, and out of line.
Hello.
Hello, I'm Grandma Terry, and Jenny here is among the 18 grandchildren I have, and 2 great-grandchildren. So that puts me in with you gals who remember Jax. I was the champion of cherry in a basket, and loved doing double dutch jump rope. During my school days, my favorite time was recess. In particular because I am dyslexic, and in those days they didn't know what to do with a dyslexic child, but they do today, which is wonderful. I think my favorite thing to do that my parents had me learn was to dance and sing and play piano, and I'm grateful to be here today with my granddaughter.
And I debated if I should tell this story because I don't want to give Aiden any ideas. But Aiden probably doesn't need any ideas. But I had a best friend in elementary school. I moved onto her street when I was 4 years old, and we're still friends today. But we were just the best of friends, and so we were together in kindergarten and first grade, and we talked so much that we got separated for second. Somehow we ended up back together in third grade. We got separated for fourth. So we ended up back together in fifth, and they put us clear across the room from each other. So we learned sign language. And we would sit and do sign language and spell out words to each other across the room. So of course we were separated in sixth grade. But I loved elementary school. I remember wanting to wear my jeans too, and couldn't. Yes, we wore dresses. But I remember loving it and never minded going to school.
She's grandma in Texas and a grandma in Hawaii, and I am adopted by her father. So I'm so proud to be her. And one of the things I'm looking at her and I are discussing is Levi's. I wanted to be a jock in school, but we had to wear skirts. And you couldn't be a jock, and there weren't jocks either. You didn't have anything to do, and if you did play, it wasn't very nice because your skirt would come up. And then the only other story I can remember is I had really long legs, and Lagoon Day, do you have Lagoon Day? And we would all go buy shorts, and they'd all kick me out of school because my legs were so long, because my shorts were too short. Nowadays, I don't think they do that.
I'm Isaac's mom. He has a grandma in Oregon and one in California. But my mom and me were practically the same, like tomboys. My mom played on the football team in elementary school and baseball team and like fastest track runner. She still is a tomboy, basically. And I did too. I loved playing recess, soccer, capture the flag, jump the river, all those games like that, and did the school newspaper, and we were just in a little elementary school by the beach, so that was fun. We would have field trip days and would go down and play at the beach all day long. So elementary school was awesome for me.
I'm Carolyn. I'm Caden's grandma, and I'm excited about today because I love doing anything Caden. Anyway, some of my memories from third grade, we had a brand new elementary school built, and the whole thing wasn't finished when we got to go to it, so third grade was the oldest. So we thought we were really cool. Didn't last very long, part of the year. But anyway, we had a big hill behind the school that was a sidewalk, and we liked to roller skate to school, and we loved to roller skate down this hill. We thought this hill was huge, so we didn't dare go clear to the top. So we'd go halfway up the hill and roller skate down. Now when I drive past that school, it's not very much of a hill. And I realize we shouldn't have been so afraid. But other things we like to do is the same as all of you. We like to play jacks, we love double dutch, foursquare. We love to be outside and we love to play. And thanks, I'm happy to be here.
We were having nap time. We all got to lay on the floor on our rug or on our mat. And so my teacher was at the back of the room, and I got up and went and got a drink of water, which you weren't supposed to do without being told. And so my teacher got upset, and she says, "Is that you that did that, Pam?" And I said, "Yes," and she let me be the wake-up fairy. So I got to go around with the wand and wake everybody up, even though she was mad at me.
Hi, I'm Deanna. I'm Alex's grandma. I live in Springville. I remember several little stories. I remember in kindergarten laying on my mat to take a little nap, which we always did. And then my best friend had a barrette in her hair, and she picked up the barrette and undid it and stuck it in a light.
Oh, shoot.
An electrical socket. Anyway, it wasn't a good story. Don't do that. I remember in third grade, I had a teacher. She was left-handed, and she was a wonderful lady. I really loved her. And when I got a big Madame Alexander doll, I named her after my teacher. And, in fifth grade, I remember taking the time away from class to print all the signs the teacher needed to have printed. So he must have trusted my handwriting. And then in sixth grade, I remember we had a man teacher, and he was kind of had a good temper, and when we misbehaved, he would take a yardstick and crack it across the desk, or he would take these big long erasers and he would throw them at us. So, anyway, we all survived, so I'm glad to be here. Alex is the greatest.